Picture a misty Scottish morning, where the air is thick with fog and the world feels hushed as if holding its breath. The land is painted in shades of grey and green, the river winding silently through the countryside, its surface barely rippling in the dawn light. It is September 11th, 1297, by the banks of the River Forth, a date and place that will echo through Scottish history. The river isn't just water, it's a natural fortress, its muddy banks a trap for the unwary. The Forth's currents are swift, its edges treacherous, and for any army, crossing here is a gamble with fate. Only a single, narrow wooden bridge crosses it, barely wide enough for a few horsemen to ride side by side. This fragile link is the only way across for miles. This bridge is the key to the north. Whoever holds it controls the fate of armies. It is both gateway and bottleneck, a place where strategy and courage will be tested. Overlooking it all is Abbey Craig, a towering volcanic rock, a perfect lookout. Its steep slopes rise above the river, offering a commanding view of the entire landscape. From its summit, you can see every move on the river and bridge below. No army can cross unnoticed. Every maneuver is exposed to watchful eyes. For a commander, this high ground is a priceless advantage. It's a place to plan, to anticipate, and to strike at the perfect moment. The landscape here, river, bridge, and rock, forms a deadly trap, a natural arena where the odds can shift in an instant. Stirling was destined to be a battlefield. The geography demanded it. The land itself seems to invite conflict, shaping the fate of those who dare to fight here. The wide, muddy river is a barrier, the bridge a choke point, and every inch of ground is hard won. Abbey Craig stands as the ultimate vantage point, a silent witness to the drama unfolding below. It's as if the land itself was designed for a dramatic showdown, every feature conspiring to create a perfect stage for battle. For any army defending the north, this was the place to make a stand. Here the landscape could turn the tide, favouring the few against the many. The terrain offered a massive advantage to a smaller force, allowing them to hold back a much larger enemy with cunning and resolve. Here, a simple crossing could become a death trap for any invader. The river, the bridge, and the rock together could turn ambition into disaster in a matter of moments. The fate of Scotland would be decided by the lay of this land. Every hill, every bend in the river, every stone would play its part in the coming struggle. The stage was set for one of history's most dramatic battles, a clash not just of armies, but of geography, strategy, and destiny itself. Atop Abbey Craig, William Wallace and Andrew de Moray watched the English approach. Their army was small, ordinary Scots, not professional soldiers, but fiercely determined. They knew every inch of the land and saw the bridge as a perfect trap. Their plan: wait, let the English funnel across, then strike. Discipline and patience were their greatest weapons. The temptation to attack early was immense, but they held back. Timing was everything. They needed just enough of the enemy across to spring the trap. The Scots' nerve would be tested against overwhelming odds. The English army arrived, thousands of cavalry and infantry, banners flying. Commanded by John de Warenne and Hugh de Cressingham, they saw the Scots as mere rabble. Their confidence blinded them to the dangers of the terrain. The narrow bridge seemed a minor obstacle, not a deadly trap. The English relied on open ground and heavy cavalry, advantages the landscape denied them. Their pride set the stage for disaster. Sir Richard Lundy, a Scottish knight with the English, warned against crossing the bridge. He suggested a safer ford upstream, but Cressingham dismissed him, eager for a quick victory. "Why prolong the war? Let's advance and finish this," Cressingham insisted. Surrey hesitated, sensing the risk, but Cressingham's arrogance prevailed. The decision was made. The English would cross the narrow bridge head-on. Pride and impatience overruled caution and local knowledge. The fate of thousands was sealed by this single, reckless choice. The English ignored the trap, convinced of their own superiority. They marched straight into the jaws Wallace and de Moray had prepared. Leadership blinded by arrogance would cost them dearly. The English began their slow, clumsy march across the narrow stone bridge, their armour glinting in the morning light. The bridge was barely wide enough for two men to walk side by side, forcing the army into a long, vulnerable column. Each step echoed with the weight of hundreds of soldiers, their progress hampered by the bottleneck. At the front, armoured knights led the way, their banners fluttering in the breeze, followed by a seemingly endless line of infantrymen. The English soldiers, confident in their numbers, pressed forward, unaware of the danger that awaited them. From the high vantage point of Abbey Craig, Wallace and de Moray watched intently, counting every man who crossed. They exchanged tense glances, knowing that timing was everything. Each English soldier who made it across brought the trap closer to being set. The Scots waited in absolute silence, crouched in the tall grass, their spears ready. Discipline held them back, even as nerves frayed and anticipation built. They knew that attacking too soon would squander their only chance at victory. The English vanguard, including the treasurer Cressingham, crossed into a marshy loop of land on the far side of the bridge. The ground was soft and treacherous, and the troops became disorganized, their formation breaking apart as they struggled through the mud. Meanwhile, the main English force remained stranded on the far bank, unable to cross quickly or come to the aid of their comrades. The narrow bridge had become a barrier, dividing the army at its most vulnerable moment. Wallace and de Moray waited for just the right number of English to be trapped on the far side. Every heartbeat felt like an eternity as they calculated the perfect moment to strike, determined to maximize the impact of their ambush. By late morning, nearly 5,000 English soldiers had crossed, cut off from the rest of their army. The moment had finally arrived. With a swift motion, Wallace raised his sword, signalling the attack. The Scots surged forward with a roar, unleashing the trap they had so patiently prepared. The English, packed tightly into the muddy causeway, suddenly found themselves surrounded on all sides. Panic rippled through their ranks as they realized escape was impossible. Their numbers, once a source of confidence, now became a deadly liability. The heavy armour that had protected them in open battle only weighed them down in the mud, making movement slow and exhausting. The fate of the battle would be decided in mere minutes. The tension broke as the Scots crashed into the English lines, spears and swords flashing in the chaos. The long wait was over. In an instant, the battlefield erupted into violence and confusion as the trap that had been so carefully set finally snapped shut. At Wallace's command, Scottish spearmen charged, seizing the bridge's northern end. The English were cut off. No retreat, no reinforcements. The Scots advanced in schiltrons, bristling with long spears. English knights, trapped and unable to charge, floundered in the mud. The schiltrons absorbed the few desperate attacks, unhorsing riders and sowing panic. The English vanguard dissolved into chaos, pressed by spears and blocked by the river. Command broke down. Cressingham was among the first to fall. The once mighty English force was now a terrified, trapped mass. The Scots' discipline and the terrain turned the tide. The English vanguard faced annihilation. The battle became a slaughter dictated by the land itself. The landscape, with its river, bridge, and marshy banks, shaped every moment of the fight. The Scots had chosen their ground with care, knowing that the terrain could be as deadly as any sword or spear. The river, once an obstacle, now trapped the English, many drowned trying to escape. Panic spread as the current swept men away, armour dragging them under. The water, meant to be crossed, became a grave for hundreds. The bridge, their only exit, was held by the Scots and became a death trap. Desperate English soldiers crowded onto the narrow span, only to be cut down or pushed into the river below. There was no way back. The English on the south bank could only watch in horror. Helpless, they saw their comrades fall, unable to help or intervene, the cries of the dying echoing across the water. The muddy causeway neutralized the English cavalry, their horses bogged down, their soldiers slow and vulnerable. The heavy armour that once gave them strength now became a burden, trapping them in the mire. The Scots, lighter and familiar with the ground, struck with deadly efficiency. They moved swiftly, using every dip and rise of the land to their advantage, overwhelming the disoriented English. Of the 5,000 English who crossed, almost all were killed or drowned. Scottish losses were minimal. The field was littered with the fallen, a testament to the power of strategy and terrain. The victory was not just of arms, but of intelligence and terrain. The Scots had turned the landscape into their greatest ally, outthinking and outmaneuvering their enemy at every turn. Stirling Bridge became a lesson in using the land as a weapon. For generations, commanders would study this battle, learning how the environment could decide the fate of armies. A smaller, smarter force had destroyed a mighty army. At Stirling, the land itself became a silent warrior, shaping the outcome and changing history forever. As the last English fell, Surrey ordered a desperate retreat, destroying the bridge behind him. News of the defeat shocked England. Wallace became a national hero. The victory inspired Scottish resistance and united the country. For a time, Scotland was free of English occupation. The battle proved that smart leadership and patience could defeat brute force. Wallace and de Moret's knowledge of the land turned the tide. Stirling Bridge remains a story of underdogs triumphing through strategy and courage. The lesson: use your environment, be patient, and never underestimate the power of intelligence over strength.